hopefully I've given enough time for my data to show up. But we'll switch back to security and we'll go to the asset screen. And again, I just want to show you guys are probably familiar with risk scores from the event side of things. So as we get security events, they are assigned risk scores. These risk scores have to do with the log messages that came in and how severe they are, how the criticality level of the event definition, and then also if there's an asset associated with it, like in this case, there's two, how important are those assets, right? Are they critical? Are they medium? Is Dan a guy in the mailroom or is Dan the CEO of the company? So he's neither of those things. But in that scenario, there we go. So that's the risk score for events. We have now summed that all up and put that on the assets. So what happens is we're taking all of those event risk scores on the asset. You can see all the associated events here, mind the formatting. But what happens is, let's say the same event hits two machines, right? One of those machines was patched recently, and one of those machines was not patched recently, okay? So the vulnerability count is going to be wildly different on those, which means the risk score is going to be different on those, right? The machine that is not patched is going to have a higher risk score, even though the event is basically exactly the same. So that's what this risk score is trying to do. We amplify the existing event risk scores with the vulnerability information that we have. And that gives us our asset risk score. Same thing, we're doing similar to users. We do have a risk score on the user assets, but we don't take into play the vulnerability data. This is more just what is your risk score on your highest events, your highest criticality events. That would be the risk score. But the idea here is you'll be able to, again, prioritize rather than having to triage every single event that comes in. We can look at the higher severity risk scores and just for a screenshot to show you, they'll actually be highlighted in different colors depending on the severity level. So we bucket it low, medium, high, critical, right? 25, 50, 75, 100. And that's another thing. Dan worked very hard on smoothing out these risk scores. So we are now all in a 0 to 100 scale. What happens is as the risk scores grow, it actually levels off to the 100 score. So we smooth off the top end so that we're not seeing kind of exponential numbers on the risk score there. 0 to 100 scores, so everyone can recognize the grade, the criticality, and then we badge it with the color here. The other thing I just want to mention, because the UI, although it's still in flux, we can still do a lot of our work from this page. We don't have to jump back to security events or back to like investigations. So if I go to a security event, I click it, another drawer opens. I can actually replay my search in here. That pops up here. We can do stuff from the search window in here. We can add to an investigation from here. So we're trying to avoid a lot of that switching off of this tab, going to other tabs. You can do all your work to triage and apply and add here. We're going to be improving this some more with some, not to go too much into 6.2, but we're going to start looking at more bulk actions and more things that we can do that aren't so many clicks, but I think this UI is looking pretty good so far, right? We're able to do like a lot from a lot of different places, right? So like from security events, I can add to investigations. From assets, depending on whatever angle you want to look at your security data, we'll be able to do our work from that page. That's it for me.